Nick Saban.
Yeah, coach.
Hey, guys.
Is that right?
How we doing?
Great. How are you doing, man? Was there a time you wanted the Kent State job and they didn't hire you? Do I remember you saying that sometime?
Yes, yeah, you're right about that. I came in second. Sometimes the best deals you make are the ones you don't.
Well said.
Amen, brother. Amen. Speaking of good deals, we got a great Final Four here for the college football playoffs that obviously start tomorrow at the Fiesta Bowl with Miami and Ole Miss. And then we got Oregon and Indiana. And obviously you are going to know a lot about all four of these teams because these are four of your disciples leading the way here. And I don't know if you heard or a message got back to you, but the other night, okay, and you said I'm one of your close friends, so like I view you the same way. I'm happy we view each other that way. And as your close friend, I want to let you know I will get disrespected for you. I will feel disrespected for you. So all these other schools are hiring Saban disciples. Okay, the Final Four are all Saban disciples. Then Alabama loses and they don't have a Saban disciple, and you're already there. Did you ever think about that whenever the decision was being made with Greg Byrne? Like, were you part of the conversation on whether or not, should we continue with one of my guys? Should we go a different direction? Like, why do you think that happened? And should I feel disrespected for you for them deciding not to hire one of your disciples when it's clearly the right decision in college football in 2025, 2026, and forever?
Yeah, well, I think if somebody was available, I'm not sure anybody was available that they could have maybe gotten to come here. And I do think that Kalen DeBoer is a really good coach and doing a good job here. This is a tough transition, especially in this environment that we live in college football in terms of, players coming and going. I think there was like 26 players that got in the portal when I retired. So that's a lot to overcome for anybody, and it would have been a lot to overcome for even, one of the guys that formerly coached for me. So, I fully support Greg Byrne and what he decided to do and how he's done it, and I'm hoping that they get the ship going in the right direction here. It's not bad to get in the playoffs and finish, in the final 8, but not the expectation around here, which is tough to live up to sometimes.
Yeah, well, you created that expectation, obviously, and we will certainly talk about your disciples having the success that they're having and what you see from their teams that maybe you see from the programs that you were building there. But Alabama losing in the way that they lost, I think all of us are like, this ain't the Alabama team that we know. And it's easy to just automatically point fingers. Kalen DeBoer signed up for the job. We think he's the right guy for the job at the time because of how much success he has had in the past. Felt like he was mature enough to have to fill in for your shoes. And we're not saying that at the time we weren't on board with Kalen DeBoer. We're big fans of Kalen DeBoer. But now that we're looking at these four teams and they're all from your tree, it's like, wouldn't that have been the right move? Maybe keep the success train rolling. I appreciate you saying, I don't know how many people were available at the time, and obviously you support Kalen, but let's talk about these four teams. Obviously Mario Cristobal and you, very close. We got a chance to see that. Hard-nosed football team. Ole Miss, this Golden guy, I don't know if anybody else could have been able to do what he has done in this mental toughness that is needed to keep everybody going in the same direction with the massive distraction that it was with Lane Kiffin. Dan Lanning, this guy seemingly just psycho for football, loves this thing out there, has completely run Oregon into a place where it is a premier destination for all 5 stars, basically. And then Curt Cignetti in Indiana. Obviously, this is literally out of a movie. What do you see from these 4 programs that you think, maybe I did have a little piece in helping create the cultures of these places? Is there anything that you see?
Yeah, well, one thing that I see in all these teams is they have a mentality about them to play physical football and a lot of mental toughness and how they play and how they compete in the game. And I think that's contributed to their success. Even Ole Miss, who is a fastball advantage throw, but they run the ball extremely well. And, Dan Lanning has changed the culture of Oregon as well in terms of a physical, tough, on the line of scrimmage team. Every one of these teams have tried to build themselves on physical, tough, on the line of scrimmage teams that, play with great intangibles. And, Indiana, man, they were impressive in the game. Not that Alabama played great and they made some mistakes early on that hurt them, but these cats, man, and everybody talks about their offense. They got some dogs on defense now.
Yeah.
These guys play hard. They play fast. They make plays. They play together. They don't make a lot of mental mistakes. They're well coached. They fit the runs. And this pop they put on tie right here.
Boom. Pawns. Yeah, that's Pawns right there. Hit that. I mean, absolute hit stick right there.
Yeah, and he's a good player. So incredible the job that they've done at Indiana. I mean, just Curt Sig has done a fantastic job there. There's no question about that because his is a tremendous turnaround from a program that had no real tradition in football and has been able to establish what he's established in these first 2 years he's been there is phenomenal.
Okay, on that note, Connor has a question for you, Coach.
Yeah, Coach, as you can see, I'm ready for the playoff games this weekend and on Friday with Indiana. And right now, people are kind of pontificating that Sig could be a candidate to go to the NFL, especially to the Raiders in Mendoza, kind of a package deal almost at the #1 overall pick, and then Sig as the head coach. What do you think about that type of situation? Do you think that's something that might, intrigue Cignetti? Do you think that's something that might work? And what do you think would be kind of the difficulties with Cignetti going to the NFL? And then also, real quick side note, did your golf buddies kind of understand that, hey, Indiana isn't Indiana anymore and they need to put some respect on their name now?
All bought in now.
Good.
So I've never talked to, Curt about going to the NFL. I don't really know that he has any interest in doing that. I will say this, though. It is a fairly difficult transition to go from college to the NFL if you've never been in the NFL before. When I took the Dolphins job, I had been in the NFL for 6 years, prior to that. 4 years as a coordinator of the Cleveland Browns, 2 in Houston as a secondary coach. So I understood the NFL. But if you've never coached in the NFL, developing players is not a lot different, but how you bring players to the team is tremendously different. And I think you've got to have a organization that is vertically integrated from top down to be able to have success in the NFL, because you have a lot more impediments in terms of competitive balance in the NFL. You got a salary cap. You can't draft whoever you want to draft. You got to draft who's available when you pick. So that sometimes that doesn't work out. You got to pay the right guys on your roster and on your team. And then you got to develop a team chemistry that is a little bit different than, working with college players. So it's a lot different in terms of the system and the parity of the system. Things that you can do in college. And that's one of the reasons I came back to college. After 2 years in Miami, I said, I can control my own destiny a lot better in college than I can in the NFL, because here we have a team that I took over that's 4-12, oldest team in the league, $17 million over the salary cap, and no draft picks because they gave them all up for Ricky Williams. All that is kind of hard to overcome. And I love Ricky Williams. He's a great competitor and a great player and played great for us. But, there's a lot of obstacles in the NFL that are a lot different. And you don't see a lot of games in the NFL. Like 70% of the games are, decided by a touchdown or less. You don't have that same parity in college football. And I think it's more difficult to succeed because of that sort of competitive balance that's created by the league, which is really good and what makes the NFL what it is. I mean, really. You've heard me say this before. If everybody was, 500 going into the 18th week of the season, everybody would be happy because there'd be 32 fan bases that are still cheering for their teams to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, optimism is certainly high. Now, in the NFL, you got a lot of fan bases that know their team's ass about 3 weeks into the season, and they still hate watch the rest of the year. But the NFL's numbers outrageous. College football's numbers obviously outrageous. I think a couple of things you mentioned there obviously hysterical. I think you said impediments, which is a great word. I'm going to start using that as my own. I'm going to act like it's mine. But also impediment, a hindrance or obstruction of doing something. Incredible word. I love the fact that whenever you're in Miami, you were just like, so many impediments around me. It's just so many. What's a word I can say for all this shit that is everywhere around me? Impediments. Contracts are real there too. That salary cap, contracts are real. Here in college, you can kind of hit and miss, and as long as you have somebody continuing to back you. Go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, Coach, I think a big thing that people don't think about, someone as a great coach, they hire a great staff under them. I guess your coaching tree is legendary. It will be forever. When you you can evaluate players obviously very well, but you seem to be able to evaluate coaches and bring in the right type of people. What is it like? How did you hone that? And how did you learn as you were a coach, like, hey, this is the right guy to hire, this is not the right guy, maybe?
Well, I always look for people that had great character, good knowledge, could relate with people, good teachers, could present to players as good teachers. But also, you have the advantage of what is the track record? Most of these people that I hired had a good track record. I mean, they may have had some issue along the way, but they had a pretty good track record in terms of what they were able to accomplish with whatever group they were responsible for. So, players, you don't always have as much of a track record as you do with coaches.
Yeah, the Nick Saban Waters has blessed a lot of people, a lot of people. I don't know if you've been hearing the quotes these coaches have been saying about you, brother. I hope you have. Cignetti said, I learned more in 1 year with Coach Saban than I did in the last 27 of assistant coaching and how to be a head coach. And then Coach Lanning talked about, the 1 year I was there, and then I was with Kirby, which is basically the same thing. And they all talk about, like, basically the attention to detail is kind of, you had a plan for everything. Do you think that was your superpower? Like, what do you think you were able to do that maybe others weren't? And what do you think these guys take from you and kind of take it to their day? All four of them lining up compliments for you, Coach. And honestly, most people would hate that that's happening, but because it's you, everybody's like, hell yeah, happy to see this guy get his flowers. That's very abnormal. You're a very abnormal character. You need to know that. But what do you think is the superpower of your program?
Well, I think what we were able to do is create more value for players, and not just in terms of how we developed them on the football field, but, whether it was academic support, graduation rate, medical staff, psychological development, so that you could help them sort of figure out what it takes to be successful, strength and conditioning program for development. I mean, we had the best of almost every one of those things. Nutrition, we were always a little bit ahead of the curve. And I think some coaches look at things through a straw, just like, okay, I coach the offense. I'm worried about the plays that I call and the offense and all that. But there's so much more to it than that when it comes to being able to recruit good players and showing them that you're going to create value for them so that they can have success, not only here in college, but maybe when they go on to the NFL. And then when this process that you develop comes to fruition in terms of how many games you win and having the most players playing in the NFL, making the most money, it just sort of brings in the next player that's pretty good. And I think that they kind of understood that this is a process that's much more detailed than just what we do on the field.
And once you see $1 billion in contracts start happening, it almost starts recruiting itself.
Yeah.
But I still got to go out there. Hell, Miss Terry, see, you saw me two-stepping up in the house. You saw me doing the whole thing. You got to do all that stuff. But it all matters is basically what everybody's saying about the way you go about doing your business. I've been
But I can step through it, though, right? I mean, you saw me stepping through it. It wasn't like I was not didn't have any rhythm or anything.
You were good.
And you also had the upper body timed up with the lower body. I think that's maybe your baseball, maybe your golf as well. I don't know if that's where you got your rhythm from, but obviously you can move. You can do a little Tuesday. I don't know if I saw the Cupid Shuffle up there. I would like a little bit more action maybe. We'll see if you can kind of get into that. Let's talk about the action, though.
Coach, playoff time. This goes for the NFL and the CFP. You kind of are who you are. Your identity is what it is on both sides of the football. But if you had to lean one way, obviously you have to adjust as the game goes. If you had to pick one, a red-hot quarterback just kind of on a heater, or an elite defense, which way do you lean going into these big-time games?
Well, I think you need to do both things, really. I don't think you can win on one side of the ball or the other. And when you look at these teams, I think that all four teams that are in the finals for the college football playoff could beat either one. Either team could beat, in a one game, could beat the other team. Like the three plays that Chambliss makes against Georgia and the drive that put them ahead, it's 57, 58, and 59 on the playlist if you want to look at it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this guy scrambles around 3 times in a row and makes big plays that change the whole game. He could do that against anybody. Now, Miami, you could say, they have such a good defense and they're so athletic, maybe he won't be able to make those kind of plays against them. That remains to be seen. Oregon, the Oregon-Indiana game the first time was 20-20. Indiana made a couple plays, critical plays in the fourth quarter of that game that turned out to be the difference in the game 30-20. I know they were playing at Oregon, but either one of those teams could have won that game depending on how they finished the game. So, look, I don't think you can win unless you can keep from getting beat, so it's important to be able to play good defense. But the way people score points now, and the whole reason that we changed our whole philosophy here from running the ball, old-fashioned kind of NFL football, play action passes, running it more than you threw it, Derrick Henry gaining 1,800 yards, playing good defense. Hard to win that way now. Hard to win that way now. As soon as people started going no huddle, spread, advantage throws, RPOs, all these things that took advantage of the rules, people started scoring more points. So if you can't score points, it's hard to play good defense and win games.
I think we got the 4 right teams, man. I'm so excited to watch these squads. Thursday, Friday, leading into Super Wildcard Weekend. It's a wonderful time to be in ball. How are your Predators doing? Are we winning? Are the Nashville Predators winning or losing? I don't know. What's going on?
They're 6-2 since we bought in, so they're doing all right.
Not
So
bad.
they were 6-1. They were 3-0 to start with, so maybe I need to go give them a pep talk or something.
No, they're 0-1. Remember that the night you actually signed, I don't think any of them met you, and I don't think you did a press conference yet. They lost, so that would mean they've been on quite a tear. Have you talked to the boys? Have you been in the change room that they have?
No, not this team. They have a, I don't know what they call it in hockey, but like a mini camp for a lot of their prospects, whether they're playing in college, whether they're playing in the American Hockey Association or whatever. I went to that camp. I talked to those guys. I've talked to the front office on occasion. So it's fun to be involved.
Yeah.
You know, it's fun to be involved with the team.
Can we get you on skates? Have you been on skates before?
Ooh.
No, I don't know shit about hockey.
Leadership and winning, baby. This is the type of consultant you call for anything. We appreciate you. Safe travels out to Arizona, Coach.
Hey, we're looking forward. I guess I'll see you out there tomorrow, right?
Yeah, you got it, brother. What are you heading out there? You heading out forget it. I'll see you out there tomorrow.
In the morning. I'll see you out there tomorrow.
Yeah,
All
long
right.
flight.
Have a good one, guys. Appreciate you, man. Thanks.
Long flight, Coach. Long flight.
Yeah.
Long flight.
Lots of them.
Yeah, that's Nick Saban.
Yeah, Coach.